Behind every undeniable brand are strategies most people never see. Until now. Each week, we're ripping open the playbooks of world-class innovators who've built massive communities from scratch. Real people, real results, real systems you can implement today. I'm Kendall, and this is Tribe Tracks. Joining us on the show today is Justin Colby. After investing in real estate for over 17 years and almost 3,000 deals done, Justin has created a business that generates 7 figures in active income through wholesaling and fix and flipping, as well as accumulating millions of dollars of rental properties, including 5 apartment buildings, over 50 single-family homes, and 1 storage facility. His success in real estate led him to start the Entrepreneur DNA podcast and the Science of Flipping podcast and education company, where he has coached and mentored thousands of aspiring and active investors over the last decade. His podcasts rank at the top of the Apple charts and has garnered millions of downloads. He is a husband, father, best-selling author, and a nationally recognized speaker, on a mission to educate as many people as possible on becoming a successful dynamic real estate investor. Please welcome Justin Colby. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tribe Tracks. My name is Kendall, and our guest today is Justin Colby. Justin, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thank you so much for coming on. I've been wanting to chat with you for quite some time now.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. I can't wait to offer some value to your tribe.
Wonderful. So let's just start from the beginning. Can you give us a little bit of a background of how did you get to where you are? I know you've got tons of things going on, real estate, education, podcast. How did it all come together for you?
Well, it's been 18 years in the journey, right? And so there's no just one answer. I think the start to my real estate side was I was broke, busted, and disgusted. So I had to figure out how to go earn some money. And so that came through real estate. And from that, I decided to start a podcast because I wanted to share what I was doing and how I was doing it. And then that led into kind of a coaching career because people would constantly say, hey, can you coach me more? I'm listening to your podcast, whatever. So that led into a coaching business. And from there, that coaching business led me to solve for problems like needing more leads, needing more deals, which led into a technology business, right? And so there's iterations along the way of this 18-year journey. And just like anything, the more you can iterate, the more you can adapt, the longer you can be in the game. It's the people who just don't adapt or old dog, no new tricks, and they just fizzle out.
Yeah, I love that. I love that there's that what you do and everything that makes up your world grew organically as an answer to a problem or to a new challenge.
Yep.
Can you talk about what was that? Where were you in your mindset when you were looking at, okay, I'm a real estate investor and now I'm going to start a podcast? What prompted that specifically?
It was interesting. I was a part of a mastermind, and a good friend of mine, Sean Terry, said, dude, you do something totally different. Because I was more fix and flipping and wholetailing, right? So I was buying properties from the auction, putting it on the MLS, just selling it off, not rehabbing it. And he was like, you should start a podcast, start talking about what you're doing. And at the time, to my knowledge, he was one of the only podcasts out there. And now there's plenty. And so he was like, dude, it's been awesome. And you can't imagine how many people come to you and how much deal flow you're going to get. It'll be great. So I did it. I was like, all right, why not? As a kid, I thought I was going to be a teacher. Okay. So that's actually, I genuinely told my grandmother she was a teacher and then she was a principal. And I was like, Grandma, I'm going to be a teacher. And the older you get, you realize teachers don't make any money. And so I liked spending money. I've always been an entrepreneur. And so I used to like flip baseball cards and car washes and all this stuff to make money. So when I found out teachers don't make much money, I got very disheartened. But that drive, the passion, the feeling of wanting to continue to do that was still there. So I thought podcasting would be a great way to teach. And so that's how it started. And then that led to people genuinely saying, hey, coach me. And then I started more like consulting business. It'd be like if Kendall said, hey, Justin, coach me, it'd be more one-on-one consulting. And then that led into more of a true coaching business. And so it's just, like I said, there's these iterations, right? And a lot of people there's a movie called The Secret, a book called The Secret. Like they don't take the opportunity when it's given. And I've always to some level been able to take that opportunity. And so sometimes it has not worked in my benefit, right? I did a development deal that did not work in my benefit. But more often than not, it does.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I see a lot of people, and myself included, I can think back to times when opportunity presented itself and I just didn't take it for whatever reason. What do you think prepares you to take those opportunities when they arise?
Fearlessness. Listen, I think everyone has fear, but moving in spite of fear is the thing that needs to be done, right? I don't necessarily fear anything. Anxiousness, nervousness, right? Am I going to be able to do this right? Is this going to work out? Sure. But I have a little bit of this like shoulder shrug mentality that is just like, if I don't do this, I'll for sure not know the answer. But if I do it, who knows? I could make this work, right? Let's do it. Now, you got to be methodical. You don't just say yes to everything. I was just on an executive call right before this, and there's some decisions that are pretty hard, and we're trying to figure out what's the right decision. And you just go, let's just try that. Let's go. We've thought about it. We've looked at it. We've seen a trajectory. Let's go. Who knows? And we're hopeful on that decision that we just made about 8 minutes ago. But those are the type of things that most people won't move forward because of the fear, and it limits them. And it's not because it's fear that they don't know how to do it per se. It's the fear of that if they do it wrong, what type of judgment is going to come at them. And I speak on stages across the country, and I talk a lot about this, even though people think I'm going to talk about real estate, is the fear of judgment from their mom, their dad, their brother, their sister, their best friends is why they don't actually do it. It's not the fear of it not working. It's actually the fear of what will they think of me that happens. And so I try to help people understand, like, no one gives a shit. They might say one thing when you expose that you messed up and it didn't work. They might be like, oh my God, Kendall did this thing.
Yeah.
And then their life is going to be a dumpster fire, and they're going to have to go attend to their own fire because their life is a mess. And they'll forget that Kendall did this thing. And so I just implore, if you're going to go try, go do it. But don't be scared of falling down, and they're already talking about you, right? That's the reality. Is everyone's already gossiping about you. So just let them gossip. They don't pay your bills. You do.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So, can you talk a little bit about when you were first starting the podcast?
Sure.
What vision did you have for it? So, I really resonate with the fact that you wanted to be a teacher. I was actually a teacher. I figured out that teachers don't make money once I actually started teaching. But
Sure.
I love it.
Exactly.
Passion never goes away. It never
Yeah.
goes away. So I'm always going to try to find some outlet to teach on because that's
Yeah.
just my makeup, right? But can you talk about when you first started the podcast? I love that you had the idea and you're like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there and I'm going to be fearless about it. But what in your mind did you envision like the structure to look like? Are you going to interview? Are you going to teach? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Back to kind of iteration. So when I started it, I wanted to be a true like educational platform, right? Now you got to remember, this is 12 years ago I started my podcast. So totally different, right? There wasn't so many, YouTube wasn't even around for people to be like YouTubing how to wholesale or how to flip homes. Like it wasn't there. And
Sure.
if it was there, it was such like a small platform, right? Nowhere near what we know it today. And so podcasts were the platform that I could just straight educate, right? And give it away for free. And if you know anything about Alex Hormozy, he talks about give your best stuff away for free. And that was the idea of the podcast. I'm going to tell you exactly how I find them, how I negotiate them, how I raise money, how I flip deals, how I sell deals, how I find my buyer. I'm going to give it to you. And hopefully you can go out there and do it. Right now, I didn't have an agenda to have a coaching program at the time. I just wanted to go do that. And now my podcast, I just looked today, I'm ranked number 2 on Apple for investing in the investing category. Dave Ramsey is number 1. I am number 2 on Apple.
Congrats.
I have another podcast called The Entrepreneur DNA that is ranked number 14 on Apple in entrepreneurship. And so it has changed over time, right? And now it's almost all interview based. And the reason why I do that is because I gave everything I have for 10 years. And so now I want my audience to hear from others and to say, what are they doing right now? What's happening for them? Because a lot of people would say, yeah, but Justin, you have all this experience. Yeah, but all the yeah, buts coming up, right? I'm like, great. I'm just going to start interviewing other people that are doing it. And then you have no excuse because it's not just me, it's Kendall too. And now there's no excuse except for looking in the mirror.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So can you talk about what that first year of podcasting was like? Because now you've had millions of downloads, you're ranked very high on the Apple charts. But what was that like very beginner phase like
Yeah.
for you?
So because podcasting is like in your own studio, if you're not you're interviewing anybody, it was pretty easy, right? Like I bought a nice mic, right? And I just recorded it. And then I would I hired I don't even know what the hell you'd call him. Marketer guy that just understood how to connect my recording to Apple and whatever. And so I paid him, I think I paid him like $500 a month. And I would give him 4 episodes a month. So he basically charged me like $125 per episode that he would essentially just attach to Apple, or at the time, I think it was iTunes or whatever it was, right? So it wasn't very hard. It was just my agenda was to go out and teach exactly what I'm doing and even expose what I was doing wrong. Oh man, guys, I learned this week, don't do this thing because here's what happened and I lost this and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't hard. It was easy. No idea how many downloads back then I was getting. Right now I'm getting 40, 50, 60,000 downloads per episode in the first week or so. But again, it came from a place of genuine, authentic desire to help people learn what I learned, help people miss the potholes that I stepped in, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that. So at what point in your podcasting journey did you start thinking about the show in terms of, okay, I want to grow this now? It sounds
Too late.
Too late.
Yeah, because listen, I would tell everyone that has an agenda to grow a business, grow your brand alongside that business. Your brand is why people do anything. I'll tell you, the other day I had a call from one of my private lenders on some real estate transactions, and she just made it very clear. She's like, Justin, I've never really invested with you for the asset. I invested because of you. I invested because I didn't actually care about the deal. I didn't actually give a shit about it. I trust who you are. And I trust that if I give you my money, it will be safe. And that comes from a brand. That is brand loyalty. That is what my brand gave to her in this example that I'm giving, that I'm a trustworthy person. I've done this a long time. I've exposed the bad things that have happened along the journey. Like people gain trust. And so the brand is really important. So now I wish I would have started this really robust push for my podcast earlier, right? And unfortunately I didn't. And here I am, but I've done pretty well. And I would tell you or any other podcaster, like really lean into it. Like really lean into it. Because people want to do business with people they know, like they trust, right? That's the easy age-old saying. But another way that I say it is you need to let people know who you are. You need to let people know what you do. And then you need to let people know what you're looking for. And you can do that on a podcast, right? And not only is the podcast in the US, it's effectively international. Everyone can hear you, see you. If you use YouTube and you take this and you put it on YouTube, now everyone can see you there. If you collaborate with me on social media, it just is a great platform to build your brand. So I tell anyone looking to build a business, you got to lean into building the brand. I'll give you a perfect example why. I wrote a book right alongside launching the podcast. It's on Amazon still. I have hair, a bunch of curly hair. I'm wearing a little tie because that's what I thought business owners do.
Yeah.
I have a sports coat. It's called The Science of Flipping, just like my podcast. So I launched the podcast. I launched the book. I may have sold 3 copies. My mom, my grandfather, and my dad. This January, so this month, I launched my second book, roughly 12 years later, called Flipping to Wealth. In less than a week, I became a #1 best-selling author in 3 categories, 3 separate categories.
Wow.
And so I say that because it's not because I went out and bought a lot of books. I didn't, right? People are like, oh, you just bought all your own books. I didn't do that. It's because my brand was so good and has been built for so long that when I went on this little guy, my phone, and I let everyone know, hey, exciting news. I'm launching my second book. It hits Amazon in stores on whatever the date was, January, whatever, 5th or whatever it was. Would love your support. Within 72 hours, my book manager screenshotted like #1 in real estate, sales, and finance.
Love it. I
And it's
love it.
because the brand, though. But again, it's the brand that did that for me, not anything else. And so that is a really big reason people need to lean into building credibility, influence, and authority.
That's so good. That's actually the heart of what this show is about, because I talk to many different entrepreneurs, and I feel like many of them are maybe a little hesitant just to discuss brand or talk about or even define what brand is, because I think that it's become such a buzzword, and we see people talking about personal brands, and we've seen if you're going to have a digital presence, you have to be on TikTok doing dances and all this other stuff. But can you break it down for our audience? What is your definition of a brand?
Ooh, that's really good. It has changed. And the reason why I say that is because, like, you mentioned TikTok. Everyone's an influencer now.
Everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no more, if everyone's an influencer, there's no more influencer.
Right.
But what will separate everybody is a brand. There are still brands. And that is the separation of influencer to brand. If everyone's an influencer, there's no one that's the actual influencer, but there are people that become brands. And one of the more recent books that I read recently, just because I watched his show and I'm like, shit, I'll read his book too, is Ryan Serhant's book about branding, because I'm just into this vertical right now. Everyone knows Serhant. It's a brand, but it's built on him, right? And so everyone knows Keller Williams. It's a brand. Gary Keller is a brand, right? So, and I'm in real estate, so I'm going to use those as references. I don't know if I have a true definition. I should probably think about that, because I'm actually thinking about writing another book. It gives, the brand creates trust, right? It creates loyalty. Influencing is good, but everyone's an influencer now, right? And so brand creates that credibility, influence, and authority that you're looking for. I'll give you a great example. Who's the CEO of Ford? I have no idea either, by the way, just so you know. Who's the CEO of Tesla?
Elon Musk. There you go.
Brand.
Personal.
That is a brand. Yeah. What does his brand do? He launches a fucking electric car that, to me, whatever, I don't know, not that impressive, but it sells like more cars than any other car dealership ever.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Absolutely.
Because the brand of Elon Musk. What did he do even in, like, when he buys fucking Twitter, which is now called X?
Right.
Like, it's the brand of him that is able to influence and create credibility, and then that creates authority. And so branding really exemplifies the three: credibility, influence, and authority. And that allows people to buy the thing that you want them to buy.
Yeah. Great examples of that. Drilling down now. So you mentioned that you wish you would have started building the brand a little bit sooner, right? In terms of your podcast development, building it alongside your business. So can you talk a little bit about what are some of those things that you consider when you're thinking intentionally about building a brand? What are those elements that make successful brands, and how do you implement that whenever you're creating your brand strategy and implementing that?
First, I always want to be authentic. Like, I can't create a brand that is not me, because then you're wearing a mask, and at some point the mask falls off and you can't keep carrying it.
Sure.
So I'm genuine to who I am and what I'm about. And listen, I've been told a lot of times, stop cussing on stage. And I'm like, I know, but I'm just still a normal person. I'm not just here to be a polished speaker. Like, I need to be able to relate to everybody, and we all cuss when we're in the crowd. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I need to create that authenticity for my brand. And then I want to think about, like, the end result. What do I want the end result to be? And whatever that may be. So for my tech company is to sell off at a very high valuation. So I need a little bit more polished brand, but I need it to be in conjunction with the technology that I built and I'm using in my businesses. For real estate, obviously, is the ability to create massive income and create massive wealth. I want people to realize you can do a lot of deals and make a lot of money, but you should also be accumulating wealth and buying a lot of assets for multiple reasons. One, it's a great tax write-off is first and foremost, right? Sorry, the sun's now coming into the window, but
you're good.
And think through just what's my agenda for my brand, right? Because a brand could be sold off, right? I can license my brand. I could license the Justin Colby brand and go sell vacuum cleaners. Justin Colby says vacuum cleaners are great, right? Whatever that is.
Yep.
And so you got to think through how you want, when you're dead, people to think about you. Is how I look at it, is like, what is the thought process of who Justin Colby was when he was here? What did he do? What value did he provide? All of that kind of plays into what I'm thinking about would be a good brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. So good.
Yeah.
So jumping over back to the world of podcasting. So can you talk about what the period was, that growth period from when you were just started scrappy with a microphone, and then now it's much more, sounds like it's intentional. You've launched a second show. You're now thinking about growing. What was that growth period like between the Justin Colby podcast 1.0 versus the 2.0 and above?
Yeah. What was the growth trajectory? Is that kind of the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I wanted a place where the reason I started the second podcast is because I started growing within business. So I didn't want only to be talking about real estate all my life.
Sure.
Because there's other businesses that I started growing and become a part of and all these different things. And I was like, the further I got my career, the more tables I sat at with some very influential people. So my Rolodex started to grow. And I'm like, it'd be really cool to start a podcast with all these other entrepreneurs at high levels in different verticals of doing different things that can can create value to other people, can create impact to other people. I was like, dude, this would be a really cool podcast. I called it The Entrepreneur DNA. And I'm like, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to run businesses? What does it take to grow and scale businesses? And so again, name a name, and I've probably interviewed them from Grant Cardone to Brad Lee to Andy Elliott to Garrett J. Just name somebody. They've been there, and it's been incredibly fun, and it has opened more doors. The reason why I'm telling you to lean into it, the amount of doors that will open for your podcast, the amount of opportunities that will happen if you stay consistent at doing it, it's just mind-boggling how many opportunities have been presented to me, and some I've just denied and others I've taken up, and it's incredible what happens just because you have this podcast.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. You mentioned leaning in and staying consistent. What other ways, if people that are listening to this that have podcasts and they're looking to grow those podcasts, what are some other ways that they can lean in? What are some of those tips that you would be able to offer them?
First, get started, right? Keep going, be consistent. I did it for over a decade without any level of recognition, any really direct revenue stream. Like I didn't have big advertisers or anything like that. And I kept going. And the reason why I'm at a place where I'm at in terms of rankings on Apple and having 40, 50, 60,000 downloads in a couple days is because I had the fortitude to keep going. And so now I'm a known brand. I'm a known entity. I'm a place where people know to go. And so I think if anything, I don't think it's always as important in the podcast space to know what your end result is. It is just keep going, because your end result can change. Your end result, there could be some iteration, adaptation. You might fall in love with this different business model. The episodes start talking about something differently, which creates an opportunity for a different type of exit or opportunity. And so I don't think the podcasting world is so unique, because for me, we do an episode a week. And I have two episodes a week, Science Flipping and Entrepreneur. It's ever changing. It's ever evolving. I might interview someone or have a subject matter that I didn't think I was going to be talking about. Like crypto was a good one recently, where I had a guy who created his own platform like Coinbase. He's crushing it right now because how the user has access and controls everything, where if you're using Coinbase controls everything, right? So that's why their fees are so high. So anyways, and I just thought that was really cool. And I was like, there's such a big world of crypto that I'm intrigued with now. And I say that all just to say, I don't believe in just keeping your podcast subject matter specific in such a niche vertical. Keep it broad. That's why I have two now, because one is real estate specific, but the other is just straight up entrepreneur. So anyone in real estate, come on to Science Flipping. Anyone in business in general, making cupcakes or, building the new electrical car, whoever, come on in and we'll talk about it on Entrepreneur DNA.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think it just goes back to your point of your approach to building your personal brand as being authentic to you. And so if you want to have those conversations outside of real estate stuff, then go for it. That's in your brand to have that show develop that way. Can you talk about what is it that, like, how did you approach the second show, the Entrepreneur DNA? How did you develop that? How did you start that with all of the years of experience that you had with your first show? Because I imagine that it looked a little bit different when you first started those, both of those.
A lot different. Funny, I'm seeing like your diploma. So when I started my show, I literally was in a desk with nothing on the walls except for my diploma and a window.
Yeah.
And that's how I started my first episode, with a microphone right here. And that was it. So the second one, I basically said, okay, I have the idea, I have the concept, all things entrepreneurship, but I also have the Rolodex. So I actually went out and made a handful of calls. Again, the likes of Grant Cardone, Bradley, Andy Elliott, Garrett J. White, Sean Whalen, Pace Morby, Ryan Pineda, just some people that I could easily reach out to and just call and say, hey, dude, you want to jump on this? I'm starting a new one. They all said, absolutely. And so I just went. But the idea was to make it about, what have you done? What have you lost at? How do you protect your downside? Like, what's the iteration of growth for you guys? Like, it just was very authentic. Like, some of the most authentic shows, because it was just raw. It was raw entrepreneurship, and there's no puppy dogs and rainbows every day in entrepreneurship, right? There's some tough times, there's some great times, right? And it's a roller coaster. And so we just were always, all of us always talk real shit on that podcast, because it's like, this is what entrepreneurship is. After doing this for 18 years, it's just not always pretty. And so what are the challenges? What are the upsides? When is it going really well? Right. And things of that nature. So I just came at it with the agenda of just, it was more about the brand building than it was anything else at that point, which led me to writing my book. And then now I'm having conversations with strategic partnerships with a lot of those names that we just talked about. And so it's been very cool.
I love that. So good. Can you also shed some light on what is it that whenever you are thinking about your show and how you want it to be, what role do you play outside of the host? Do you have a team? What does that look like on the backside of things now?
Yeah, I have a whole team. So I have a marketing team, an editing team. I don't know what the team would be called where you go post it and whatever, but it's all kind of part of the functionality of the same team. So I have real cost to my episodes. Every episode has an actual cost. I have a marketing team. The reason why I think I'm ranking is because I actually spend marketing dollars on every single episode to continue pushing forward those episodes and increasing my downloads and listenership. I have a team of editing. That same episode then gets chopped up and put in all different type of social media platforms. I treat it like a real business, right? It is a real business. There's a true cost to every single one of my episodes. And so for that, though, because I treat it like a real business, I end up getting 40, 50, 60,000 downloads. This one Monday, actually, I was a little want about it. I think I got 35 or 38,000 downloads on it. I'm like, not nearly as good. And listen, I remember when I was getting maybe 300 downloads, right? Yeah. And so when you start to treat something more like a business than a hobby, you're going to start getting results more like a business.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Can you dive a little bit more into what do those marketing operations look like in terms of promoting the podcast? I know you've got a team that's doing it now, but can you shed a little bit of light on what they're doing?
Yeah, traditional YouTube, Facebook heavier to just expose the episode and just say, hey, yeah. And then I have Instagram. And so it all works as like a ecosystem, if you will. So it's not a big spend. I'm not spending maybe $1,000, but it's enough that between the spend, between the ecosystem of the social medias, between YouTubes, between my email list, and it's a good ecosystem to treat it like a business to grow the download.
Yeah, that's really good. At what point in your podcast development did you say, okay, we're going to go paid ads on this to promote it?
Late. It started this year. Not this year, 2024 specifically, because I just realized like there was something that I had, and I realized, so like a marketer, I was just thinking, okay, if it works in all the other businesses, why wouldn't it work for podcasts? And again, like I said, it's maybe $1,000 per episode. So we do 2 episodes a week. So it's not like I'm spending 20 grand, but it creates people's ability to search for it. And so then then from there, like in the real estate one, I can push into my Facebook group also, right? So I might say, hey, new episode in the Facebook group is an ad. It may cost me $1 for someone to join the Facebook group. They get to go see the podcast there. But now I also have someone in my Facebook group. Now I have an ecosystem of nurturing that relationship. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. That's beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that ecosystem, your Facebook group. What role does that play? Because this sounds like I just resonate with so much of what you're talking about, because my first podcast was a land podcast called Only Land Fans. And that started from zero. And I just wanted to talk with 7-figure land business operators about what they do and how they do it in their business. And it was really just an educational thing because I wanted to have those kinds of conversations for my own land business. And I organically grew different elements because people were contacting me and saying, hey, I want to talk more about this. And so I created a Facebook group, and that was a container. And then my coaching program grew out of that as well because people started asking me for coaching for land. And so can you talk more about what your ecosystem looks like, specifically like your Facebook group? Let's start there. What does your Facebook group look like? What role does it play in your ecosystem?
It's a good one, right? So now that I do have a coaching program, I'm trying to find individuals who want to break into real estate and want to, get their first deal. So I do more traditional fix and flip, wholesale, buy and hold type of investing, what I call just real estate investing. It's a great ecosystem to nurture that relationship, to educate that individual, to help them along their way. But it also is a great platform for me to put in my episode of when I interviewed so and that kind of stuff. And so a group really gives me a good ecosystem that I get to control. And that's why, like, a lot of times, even if I'm doing an ad for my podcast, part of that will be generated to push into a Facebook group to get to the podcast. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is that your main CTA usually, is to push them to the Facebook group and then you market?
No, I let them do it. So I don't know all the different CTAs. It could just be like, new episode out with special guests. Click. I don't know it all.
Sure.
I let the marketers do the marketing thing.
Got it.
But yeah, I'm just pushing to try to get them to drive downloads, really. But the group itself is just a great, I think everyone, again, if you're trying to do something that you want to nurture and care for a relationship, I think a Facebook group is great still, right? Like, people are doing Discords, they're doing school group. Like, I still like the nurture relationship that you can get on Facebook in a group.
Yeah, same. So what would you say are some of the most important things that someone can do to nurture a Facebook group? Because I've been a part of so many Facebook groups where you join and then like nothing happens. So can you talk a little bit about how do you nurture your Facebook group?
Be active in it as much as post at least once a day. Now, you don't need to post long, drawn out written things. You don't need to go live every day. You just need to be active. And the more you can engage, I would say at least try to go live once a week, even if for 10 minutes, because there should be an agenda of why you have the group. So for me, it's cultivating a relationship, is buying indoctrination into me so that when the person is looking to find a mentor, a coach, an advisor, and I have a group called reilive.co. We are doing deals with our members. And so if you find me, you're going to realize I care more about doing deals with people now than getting rich off of them selling them coaching. Yes. So instead of selling someone $20,000 of coaching, it's $197 a month at reilive.co. And I'm doing the deals with you. Like, we contracted 2 deals today with members live on a Zoom call. We do it 5 days a week. But that helps. A Facebook group can help indoctrinate that, right? And to say, hey, if you're ready to get on these calls, join this group, reilive.co, because we will do deals live. So I'll stream it into my bigger group. They don't get to interact. They're watching all the other members. We're doing deals. We're making offers. We're doing the thing. And then they get this almost FOMO. Oh man, I need to be a part of this other group. It's only $197 a month. Most people can afford that, right? So then they go join that. But it's because I indoctrinate them with just pure giving value in the bigger group.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. You also mentioned your email list. I know that lots of marketers and coaches and everyone, everyone I talk to, they say build an email list. It's so important. So can you talk a little bit about your approach to your email list and how do you nurture that?
This is just a great, again, it's the same thing. It's an indoctrination platform. It's being able to keep accountable, keep in front of them. There are times for a call to action. There's a time to make the offer. Gary Vee wrote a great book, like the jab, 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 left hook or right hook or whatever it was. Same idea. Give value and then go for your ask. And so your email list really allows you to do that in a non-obtrusive way. It allows you to create income that maybe you wouldn't be able to pull out any other way. A lot of people are voyeurs these days. They're passive. They'd rather just hide behind email. They aren't going to participate in the Facebook group. They might be on both, but this is their preferred platform. Like, you got to think like a consumer. Like, how do you consume, right? A lot of people these days consume over this, right? Meaning Instagram ads and Facebook ads or whatever, TikTok ads. But there's still a lot of people out there that will consume through email, right? They're waiting for the Nordstrom's email or Macy's email or whatever, click on the link and they get their 20% off. They still do that. So it goes back to the ecosystem. You need to have the TikTok ad, the Facebook ad, the email, the Facebook group. Like, how are they going to consume? So when you do go for your ask, they can receive your ask, right? So you still need to have that email list.
Yeah, I love that. Kind of meeting people where they are and thinking about the different customer journeys. It's really interesting that you say about the voyeurism, because when I first started my podcast, I didn't think anyone was listening to it because we don't get like an analytics for a podcast. Like, we can see like downloads, but even then that's not really like a hard and fast thing. It wasn't until I actually went out into the world and would go to land events that they actually came to me and, Kendall, your podcast, and I listened to this in this episode, and they were quoting different things. And I'm like, man, I didn't even think anyone was listening. There are so many people that will consume but not engage, but they might end up buying. Many of them actually will buy without liking a single post. So can you talk about what are some of the key metrics that you like to track in your business in terms of the branding, in terms of the coaching, the real estate education? What are those key metrics that are important to you to say, okay, we're on the right track or we're not?
I think it's pretty standard in the marketing side, like how much cost per acquisition, right? Cost per click. How much does it take for me to drive someone into my world? And then the lifetime value of that person, how much have they bought over time? If they end up buying the book and then went and bought REI Live and then they wanted to buy one. So the marketing numbers are all probably pretty traditional relative to everyone else. What I want to see is how long, I like the lifetime value thing, right? Where it's like, how long has someone stayed in my world? And when something new does come up and something new does develop, do they engage with it? Do they take me up on that offer? I'd like seeing that, just my own personal preference.
Sure.
It's unique because in my Stripe is where I take payments, and they'll highlight, right, everybody and how much and what they took you up on. And so as someone who doesn't try to sell all the time, it's very interesting to see, wow, this guy has purchased everything. And you go, all right, that's a cool, loyal person. Now, our hope is they do something with it.
Sure.
Because I'm always giving them something of value, but it's cool to see. They've been with me 5 years and they've invested in my book and they invested in my little membership and they invested in my download PDF and then those type of things.
Yeah, that's so good. You mentioned earlier about thinking about how different people in your ecosystem consume. So how do you consume? I'm curious. Do you what's your favorite? Do you actually listen to podcasts?
Audiobooks are my thing. I just love audiobooks. I travel a lot. And so for me, like airplanes, I even do it in the morning. So part of my morning ritual, and I'm big on like win the morning, win the day. So part of my morning ritual is I get up at 5 in the morning, I drink a cup of water, I then drink a cup of coffee. I write in my 5-minute journal and then I just sit in silence. And if my mind is going, then I'll open up not a podcast, but an audiobook and start listening. One of the most recent ones I just started listening was Mel Robbins' new book, Let Them.
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's one of the best books I've listened to in a long, and I think it's just true, just all the way through. And so I'm always trying to take in good information, right? I call it your info diet, right? What is your info diet? And there's nothing wrong with being tired at night and it's 9:00 at night. Like me and my wife plop down in bed after we put our kids to sleep, and it's just our time to be vegging, right? She's a full-time mom. She stays at home with the kids, right? So she's tired. I'm doing my thing and I'm in the trenches fighting all day as an entrepreneur. And so by the time we both connected around 9 o'clock, is there anything good to watch and just sit?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that, but you want to be able to have some level of information diet to keep your brain growing. Because if you're not growing as a person, or hopefully as an entrepreneur, you're just existing. I'm not okay with that. Like, I want to keep pushing the levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. So in thinking about your role as a podcast host, do you consume other podcasts to see what other people are doing or what's the style or anything like that?
Not really.
Yeah,
I
I
really
don't
don't.
either. It's really interesting. Like whenever people are like, what podcast do you listen to? I'm like, I don't really listen to a ton. Even though I've got shows, I don't really listen to them.
Yeah, if anything, it's almost, I don't even watch YouTube videos. Like, I literally do audiobooks, and basically, because I also just don't have a lot of free time.
Sure.
Right. So if I'm going to be traveling, if I am in the car, then I like my audiobook more than I like short podcast. Anyways, it's just my preferred method of info diet. Right. And listen, I buy everyone's book, right? Because that's my way. So if someone's out there watching Alex Hermosi all the time on YouTube, got it. That's your way. I don't sit and watch. I listen.
Mhm.
So for me, Alex's books, I listen to his books on audio, right? And so his episodes usually are regurgitating the information he put in his 3 books. Does that make sense? So I'm still getting the same information everyone else is. Just my preferred way of doing that is through audiobook.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you consider to be one of the topics that not very many people are talking about, like in the brand space, that we should be talking about right now?
That they're not talking about? Shoot. I just don't think people are talking enough about creating what I call CIA, credibility, influence, and authority. Again, I say people need to know who you are, what you do, and what you're looking for. And that's how you can start to create credibility, influence, and authority. Now, if you're not an entrepreneur and you have a W-2 job, I don't know if you need to create any credibility, influence, and authority. I don't know if that's necessary for you. That's fine. But if you are going to go out there in the entrepreneur space, then you do need to create credibility, influence, and authority. And I just don't know if people are using the right angle right now, if they're really understanding that part, because people need to know what you stand for, but they also need to know what you stand against. They need to understand, what are you going to go do? They need to understand, what is your vision? And so that creates a certain amount of credibility and influence. Where have you been? What have you done? And then where are you going? So I really try to lean into people's understanding of credibility, influence, and authority, because if they do know who you are and what you do and what you're looking for and what your resume has been, you will create the credibility, and then you can influence them to either do it themselves or buy the thing that you want. And then you can give authority, because what you said you were going to do, you did, right?
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. If someone's listening to this and they're just they're a house flipper, right? They just flip a couple houses a year, maybe 2 or 3. And they're thinking, Justin, this sounds all good, but I don't want a podcast and I don't want a coaching program. Do I need to build a brand? What would you say to those people?
It's a great question. I would tell you, I think it's questionable. If you are they a house flipper though? So you said that
they are a house flipper.
Then absolutely, because at some point you want to raise more money. Everyone in the entrepreneur space, I don't care what space. If you're a bakery, you need a brand. Now, I believe in the personal brand. I'll give you a great example of this. There are jewelers right now that, because I'm a watch addict, I'm just a super big watch guy. There are jewelers that have a company, that have a storefront. They sell high-end watches and diamonds and luxury, but their brand is the guy I keep seeing on Instagram. I know Tito. I genuinely don't know the company of his storefront down here in Miami. I don't know him, but I know Tito. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And even if you have a company that is known for selling high-end luxury watches, people need to know that you are known for selling high-end luxury watches. That is the brand you want to be developing. So I don't care what vertical you're in. I don't care if you're in cupcakes, selling real estate, selling watches, whatever. People need to know what you do, because there will be a time and day that you will need something, right? Everything is you, just like your credit score. Like, it's just like, whether it's raising capital, finding a business partner, growing a business, they need to know you are going to go do this, not that the brand of the company is. there's very seldom amount of brands that are company brands. Like even if you just think of who I just talked about, Tesla, it's the brand of Elon Musk, right?
Sure.
Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. Google is a pretty good brand that we know who they are, but like Google is definitely not built around, that's a good example. But like the personal brand, if you even ask Mark Cuban, the personal brand means a lot and everyone should be branding themselves.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to need in the future. You may say, I don't need anything right now, but where the rubber meets the road for house flippers, for example, capital, more deals, buyers, seller, like all of it. All of it. Yeah.
No doubt.
Really good stuff. What would you consider to be your superpower?
People and communication. I can read people. I understand people. I'm empathetic. I can communicate really well. I listen. That is my power in just being intuitive, understanding like something's not right or they feel a certain way, and understanding and listening and answering questions, and then being able to communicate whatever it is I want to communicate, whether it's to sell or to get them to do something, which is selling, or to help them fix the problem they're going through or whatever. I can communicate really well and be able to paint pictures and show them visions and understand. So people is my superhuman power for sure, which really leads into other things like leadership, right? Because people will follow me. I am a great leader because of my ability to have such a strength with people. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a really important skill to have, communication specifically. People, number one, for sure, because business is about people. But communication is so important for entrepreneurs. So if someone's listening to this and they're like, I'm an introvert and I really don't like to communicate and I'd rather just send an email or a text message, what would you say to those people? What are a couple of nuggets that you can give to someone that's looking to like up their communication skills from a super communicator? What would you tell them?
You put yourself in a position to be able to communicate. For example, go to an event, go to a meeting, go to the thing that might force you to be put in a position. These are all things that are challenging. So my answer makes it even, the introverts can be like, I don't want to. That's the whole point. You have to just make a choice. Do you want something bigger than you currently have, or do you not? So if you don't, then don't complain that you don't have it. If you want something that you know you're going to have to talk to some people and get yourself out, then practically you just have to go do it, right? And put yourself in a position to force yourself. And there's no easy answer to that for the introvert, right? It is, you're going to have to grit your teeth, bite down, and go put yourself in a position. You may not have to go introduce yourself to anybody, but get yourself where they might introduce themselves, right? Get yourself in the room so that they can introduce themselves to you. So I would just force yourself to go do that.
Yeah, get the reps in for sure. Super important. It sounds like communication is like a very intuitive thing for you. It's your superpower. Do you ever like actively look to increase your communication skills? Is that something that you ever work on like intentionally, or is it just like I'm gifted?
Always.
Yeah. How do you go about doing that?
First study, like I said, info diet, right? So I'm always studying some of the best communicators. I'm always watching how they move, what they do. So there's something called NLP that I study, and that's kind of word tracks and what you're saying without saying it and how you're moving the conversation. So that's a great way. I study sales all the time. I study persuasion all the time. And because persuasion and sales persuasion specifically can be used for the negative very easily.
For sure.
And so I'm studying those kind of things. I'm just a big student in general, right? Because I always want to be able to, if I want to get to some place that I am not yet, I need to follow someone who's been there. And part of my growth as a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a leader in the space is I need to continue to become better. And from speaking on stage, hiring coaches, speaking coaches, things of that nature, I always hire coaches depending upon the vertical. I hired 2 already this year. So I spent $200,000 on coaches this year. And so it's just one of those things that communication is like one of those muscles, like for guys, building a bicep is very hard. We want it because we think girls like it or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, like it's not the easiest muscle to grow. Right. And so you got to work that thing over and over again until you can get it to grow. And same thing with communication. Like you got to study, you got to use it, you got to play with it, you got to understand it, you got to read it, you got to listen to it, you got to just get involved with it.
Yeah, that's really great insight. And I love that you mentioned that you hire coaches. Every mentor that I have also has coaches. And so what would you say, you're in the real estate education space. I'm sure you've seen that there's the tract of like people that you don't need coaches and they're very anti-coach. So what do you like, what's your personal take on that? And how do you handle that in your ecosystem?
No, anyone who's anti-coach probably just doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't make any sense. I have mentors and coaches, and I'm part of masterminds every year that I'm a business owner. And the reason being is you never know when you're going to need someone. You never know when your run is up, right? And you never know when you need to push harder than ever before because you're 3 feet away from gold that you don't even know because you're in there digging for the gold. So you don't know how close you are, but someone else can be like, dude, you're fucking 3 feet, keep going, right?
Keep going.
And so, dude, it's the only way. It's literally like a non-negotiable for me. If you don't believe that investing in yourself with a coach or a mentor is the right thing to do, then you're probably not going to like me because it's just short-sighted. Oh, but I'm scared to spend the money and making it. Then fine, be broke. I don't give a shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. Yeah, so good, so good. And it comes back again to just being authentic about your brand. It all ties in together. This is who you are. So I love that so much. What would you consider to be your greatest passion or goal you'd like to achieve at this point in your life?
Yeah, I think my kids have really monopolized my passion right now. I just have younger kids and I'm a little bit older in terms of a parent. I'm 43. And so I have a girl that's about to turn 4. I have a 10-month-old baby and they're just everything. And I think any parent listening to this would probably say the same thing is I want to make a whole lot of money, not because I want to go trick it off. It's because I just want to go do things with them in really cool places and spend as much time as I can with them. So that's my passion really is just to pour into them over the next 15 years or so and have a lot of fun doing it and enjoy it and not stress about a whole lot, right? Like I think you go through these seasons and I'm in a season right now where let me make a good amount of money because I for no other reason than to be able to have time. Like I booked 2 vacations this week to spend time with them, more time. Like I'm all in on them, right? I want a lot of money so we can do some really cool shit with them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. So if you could go back and tell yourself 3 pieces of advice when you first started your career, you mentioned start building a brand as soon as you started building the business. But what would those 3 pieces be?
It's a great question. Never give up on yourself. It's not always going to be easy. Keep going. And you are worth it. Right? Just you deserve to go for the gold. And so go for the gold.
Yeah. What I love about that is it's all mindset. Like all 3 are mindset and self-leadership, right?
99% of what we do is mindset. It doesn't matter. I don't care, again, if you're a bakery or auto dealership or invest in real estate, whatever it is, it's mindset.
Totally. Do you have any particular authors that are like mindset based that you're like, that's my go-to?
I don't know if I have a go-to. Like I just said, like Mel Robbins' book is super good. Let Them. Yeah. Renee Brown is amazing, right? Name the Name. I've read multiple of them. Obviously, you can talk about the kings like the Tony Robbins and all that. There's not just a go-to for me because I always think listen, nothing's totally new. Like even Mel Robbins' book isn't exactly a totally new concept. You can pretty much say that the book was like, don't care about what they think or don't care about what they do. The whole book is that.
Yeah.
But how she frames it and the example she gives and you're like, I like that. Like it's rejuvenating how you think about that, to not give a fuck. That's what she's saying. Just stop giving a fuck. That's her book. But how she does. So I say that all to say nothing's overly new. It's just how they're framing it in these books. So whether it's Brene Brown or Mel Robbins or you name the name, I love them all.
Yeah, so good. So good. I want to thank you so much for giving to us today. This has been absolutely incredible. It's been so much fun to chat with you.
You're welcome.
Like the whole mindset thing, I could probably talk with you about another hour about that, but I do want to thank you for sharing so much of your experience. How can we give back to you? What types of connections or resources are you currently looking for right now?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Listen, if you're invested in real estate, you want to be in real estate, that's your angle. I tell you, just look me up on Instagram and let me know you heard me here on this podcast. Go to the Justin Colby on Instagram. Say, hey, I heard you on Kendall's show. I watched you on Kendall's show. Like what you had to say. Happy to pour into you real estate wise or business and entrepreneur wise, but just let me know you heard of me or heard me here on this episode. And that's all you can do. The Justin Colby.
Amazing. We'll definitely put that in the show notes. Thank you, Justin. This has been absolutely incredible. And looking forward to catching up with you down the road for sure.
No doubt. Appreciate you, bud.
Absolutely. Take care. Hey there, brand fan. If these insider strategies on building influence and cultivating real community got your wheels turning, like and subscribe for more conversations that cut through the noise and get to what really works. And if you're ready to turn these insights into action, head over to onlybrandfans.com to unlock the next level. Until next time, build something they can't ignore.